Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Avatar Magic the Gathering video. So as promised, I said I would do a video going over a lot of the stuff they talked about on the stream yesterday, now that card reveals have properly started. So I'm going to go over a lot of the information, cover a bunch of the cards, but not all of them. There's just so many cards already, and there's still so many more still to be revealed. My plan is that ultimately a lot of the in-depth card coverage is going to happen starting from the 7th. So by the 7th of November, we'll know every single card in the set. And at that point, I probably will start to make some videos where I go through the full card pool, sort of color by color, talking about them in full. So because of that, I want this more to just be a sense of like, hey, big reveal day, let's go over this, and then touching on just a few cards. But also the key information. So first of all, the information, and then we'll get into some cards. So Secret Lairs, they did announce that Avatar is getting Secret Lairs. They only revealed one of them here, but there are multiple. There is going to be a full Avatar Super Drop. It's going to be happening on the 17th of November at 9 a.m. Pacific. So that's when everyone needs to be ready in the online queue, ready to go, or you might not be able to get these. So straight away, if you want to get these, have your account set up, ready to go, address, payment information already on the site, because yeah, it is a crazy online queue thing. Especially, I think if you're in America, the expectation is that this will sell out immediately. You'll have a little bit more leeway, it seems like, potentially in other regions, but still, these are going to be hard to get because they only print a certain amount. For some reason, it's confusing. I don't know why, but that's how they do it. So yeah, the only one they've revealed so far is Secret Lair, My Cabbages. So it's a series of cards based around the cabbage merchant and how he gets his cabbages destroyed by various means. So of course the top three is meant to be the idea of destroyed by water, destroyed by fire, destroyed by earth, the anguish of just in general the loss of his cabbages, and then destruction by kind of infestation by bugs. It's a fun set. I think they probably felt they had to do something like this for the Cabbage Merchant, even though he already has some cards in the actual set. This is a fun one that I think is nice. The cards themselves I don't think are maybe the craziest cards out there, but you're, I think, mostly here paying for the fact that, hey, it's a group of full art borderless cards. That's what you're paying for. It's going to cost $29.99 for these 5 cards in non-foil, $40 in foil. Again, you are paying for the fact that these are sort of like exclusive, print on demand, full arts. It is what it is. So yeah, it's a buying decision that you have to make. Are you willing to wait for the secondary market to see if the prices really calm down to basically below like $5-6 for each card or not? Or should you just buy the drop? It's up to you. Again, the Super Drop is sort of the idea that they will offer all, I don't know, 5-6 Avatar bundled up together, and you can just buy the whole thing in that kind of one product, or you can buy pick and mix, basically what you want from the different drops. I'm guessing over the course of the preview week coming up now, we will get everything revealed, so I'm excited to see what they actually do reveal here. No real speculation on my part for what the other ones would be. I'm guessing they might try and do a group of fancy lands that maybe lean more into kind of crazy elemental effects, really using foiling to their advantage, whereas all the lands in the set so far more seem to be representing the world of Avatar, whereas we're maybe missing the flashy land as such. Otherwise, I would love it if they did a Korra Secret Lair with some original card designs, just so we have Korra immediately and don't have to wait, I don't know, how many years would it take them to get around to doing Korra? Would they even do a full Korra set? I'm not sure, so that's why I'm kind of like, yeah, drop a bunch of the main characters now, so at least we have something, and then you still leave open most of the Korra character roster to do, and you can always do multiple versions. That would be my approach, but can they do that? We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm really just highlighting this because, hey, it's technically another product for Avatar in terms of the product lineup, so I want to make everyone aware that it exists. The Collecting Magic the Gathering article has been updated, so if you really don't know what's going on with the set, really sit down and read this article, and it will tell you everything you need to know. I'm not going to go over it in a ton of detail here. I'll link it below. But it tells you like the highlight stuff, you know, headliner card in the set, kind of second rarest cards in the set. There's source material cards that you can get, which, it has to be said, these are probably the only real criticism that I think has come out from the Avatar set so far, is just this specific set of cards has been mocked a little bit online because a lot of the Avatar screenshots don't look super great printed on the cards. It is what it is. I understand why they're kind of doing this as part of the kind of collaboration, that you do want some of the source material stuff here and not just everything all original Magic art. I appreciate it. It is a set of 61 reprint cards using the screenshots, and it's very much treated separately. It's like the bonus sheet of cards in the set, and it's off to its own little group, and it isn't just that like half of the cards in the set are screenshots or something like that. It is its own thing. I think people are at the same time like over exaggerating this, but I also do agree that they don't look super great. But it's probably the right way to do the straight up reprint cards, in my opinion. New scene cards. So it's not just the scene boxes that are doing scene cards. They're also doing it for just cards you can pull from the packs. And there's one for book 1, one for book 2, and one for book 3. Book 1 is a 4-card scene, 2x2. Book 2 is a 6-card scene, 2x3, and then the book 3 one is a 3x3 grid, which so far this is what we have. We're missing 3 of the cards, but it looks like this. Really cool. This is going to look sensational on a binder page, all laid out next to each other. Hopefully not maybe super expensive to get all of these. But then yeah, full details on explaining in terms of what this cards with this set are, what this symbol are. MSRP, I would really note that, like, hey, if you are buying sealed product, get it for this price. Collector boosters and the commander bundle are probably you're maybe going to have to pay a little bit over the odds if you really want it for the most part. But everything else, like play boosters, Jumpstart, the bundle, scene box, beginner box, you should only be paying this amount. That's how much it's meant to cost. Don't go overboard for the other stuff. Important dates, of course, all the cards will be available to look at on the 7th. Pre-release is the week afterwards. The set releases the week after that. A little bit earlier on Magic Arena if you want to play the digital stuff, so just be aware of that. And then they go over a few other things. This is a buy a box promo card, Firebending Student. So if you have an official store, you can get this promo card. And then, yeah, they just go over the different kind of styles of cards you can get, the borderless cards. And they go into detail on which ones are not available in the play booster packs and which ones are only in the collector booster packs. Now, it seems like, for the most part, most of the different types of cards you can actually pull from the play boosters. Now, the chances are very, very low. But really the only thing you're kind of locked out of if you don't get collector boosters are the 4 Neon Ink Battle Pose cards, like this one. You can't get the Brian Konietzko Avatar Aang. They're all locked to collector boosters. And then it's like specific foil versions of specific cards are only in the collector boosters, and some of the extended art stuff is only in the collector boosters. Most of the other art styles you can get from play boosters, like borderless. You can pull the scene cards, of course, as they cover. You can even get these in it as well, which are super cool. I love that they showed off the Karuk card just to give us that confidence that, like, they're showing us, like, Yang Chen and Karuk are the two, like, within ATLA, the two more kind of obscure past avatars. I'm glad we basically know they are getting their own cards. There's only one way to interpret what they now say about them, where these are being depicted on a cycle of mythic rare borderless sagas, and each saga depicts a former avatar or Sozin. So a cycle means there's one card for each color, and it's Sozin and past avatars. So Sozin is black, Karuk is blue, of course. We have the Roku already, it's red. And obviously that only leaves white and green for Kyoshi and Yang Chen. So excited to see what they do for Yang Chen. And the Kyoshi card, I think, just has the expectation that this should be pretty powerful, just because of how beloved Kyoshi has always been, but now is, especially post the novels as well. So these are probably my most hyped cards, like this set of 5, like all the different arts of them. definitely my most hyped cards probably from the set. The Field Notes cards, of course, the Elemental Frames are the more kind of common, I say common, alternate arts, but you know, there's more of these than there are other ones, and they list the full details. We have a confirmation here. We actually have different full art lands as well. The Avatar Journey lands in full art to go with the Appa lands, which is nice. So you do have to pull these from the booster packs, whereas at least in the bundles you can get Appa lands and the other ones. And then if you do want extreme detail on what is kind of in, what's not in each of the products, they do break it down here. In a play booster pack, this is what you get. This many commons or uncommons. Certain cards can come in specific slots. Scene cards, you know, can be found here. I think the notable thing that is very important when it comes to like the way it says you can get these alternate arts in play booster packs, it's really important to note the details of that, which is that there are 3 slots in the pack where you can theoretically get alternate arts in play boosters. There's a wild card slot of any rarity, there's a rare or mythic rare, and there's a traditional foil card of any rarity. Now note, in all cases, it is less than 1% chance at all of these things. Scene card, mythic rare scene card, Field Notes card, battle pose card, elemental frame card, double-sided saga cards, all less than 1%. And it's the same in basically all of these slots. You have that 1% chance. It's slightly increased by the fact that there are 3 different slots that can have them, but they are exceptionally rare in play boosters, whereas in collector boosters you have a decent chance of about pulling them, of course. Obviously, collector boosters is a lot more going on, and they list the full details here. Jumpstart, here's the promo card for the bundle. Just if you want the product details, it's all here. Definitely check that out. Other stuff, card image gallery, I will link this below. There's this where to play Magic the Gathering. So if you want to find your local store, go to a pre-release, learn what a pre-release is. They listed here in addition to a bunch of kind of like incentives to go to these events, where if you go to 2 pre-releases you can get a collectible pouch, which is cool. I kind of wish I knew about this before, because I probably won't be able to go to 2 pre-releases. It's a bit late to reveal this, but anyway, we'll see what happens. There's a kind of different promos you can see here. There's a promo Grand, a promo Firebending Student. You can get this poster that's kind of foil shiny. There's a promo Cabbage Merchant at different events and so on. If you want to know the details on more of the promos, they're all listed here. Otherwise, let's get into the cards now at this point. Again, all those articles on the official Magic site I'll link below, but let's get into the cards. Again, I'm not going to go through every single card that has been revealed, because we'll be here for ages, and this is more meant to just be a kind of overview about what we actually got. But we will start with the scene box that has been revealed by IGN. So this is only one of them in full. So the Tea Time at the Jasmine Dragon box, we now know all the cards. So this is the one that has all the couples together right at the end. It's very cool to see. So obviously there's the full art. That's all the 6 cards kind of added together. And of course, when you separate it up, you get the individual cards. So first up, we have Mei and Zuko. So this is 1 blue, black, and red for a 3/5 human noble ally with firebending 3, and also you may cast ally spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. So obviously the firebending comes from Zuko, and the ally, I guess, is meant to represent both of them because they're on the good guy side at this part in the story. And that would leave the artifact aspect of this card to come from Mei. Now, we haven't actually seen an individual Mei card yet. I'm actually quite excited to see what they do with the potentially like rare Mei card. But they might lean into artifacts or equipment with her, because she is very much the knife throwing, darts and stuff like that. It'll be interesting to see how they do that. Obviously on this version they're more going for artifacts, because I think the intent with a lot of the legendary creatures on these scene boxes is that they're meant to be kind of like commanders, potential commanders for commander decks. And so here is the idea of ally, artifact focused, and then you get the bonus of having the firebending 3 as well. So that's a cool one there. Next couple, Aang and Katara. So 3 green, white, blue for a human avatar ally. It's a 5/5. Whenever they enter or attack, you create X 1/1 white ally tokens, where X is the number of tapped artifacts and or creatures you control. So it's on enter and attack. So you create a number of tokens equal to the number of tapped artifacts and creatures. So that's cool. Obviously, like I suppose the idea is you're meant to maybe lean into water bending as well. Water bending is a way you can tap artifact and creatures to pay for water bending costs. So that's one way to do it. But also when you attack, you tap to attack. So that's another way to make it happen. Seems like you're going to create a lot of tokens here. And it makes sense because they really seem to be leaning especially green-white into the idea of the ally tokens is definitely a focus there. So that's kind of cool, just as a way to lean into the tokens quite hard. Toph, Greatest Earthbender, 2 red and green for a 3/3. When she enters, Earthbend X, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast her, and land creatures you control have double strike. So land creatures you control have double strike. So again, the idea of land creatures there is what Earthbending does is it turns your lands into creatures basically, and gives them power equal to the Earthbend number. So if you Earthbend 2, you turn a land into a 2/2 with haste. That's a creature. Giving it double strike means that basically it does first strike damage and normal combat damage. So it actually kind of attacks twice, quote unquote, which is kind of nice. The first effect is interesting because initially I was just like, what are they doing here? But then I remembered, Commander. That's what they're going for here. Because it's Earthbend X, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast her, and she has a fixed cost. It's 2 red green. It's 4 mana. How does that change? And then if it does change, it's probably going to go down based on a card helping to cast her for cheaper, which would lower the effect, which is not what you want. So what increases the cost spent to cast her? Well, it's commander tax. Because if you use this card as your commander and she's killed, since she's your commander, she's not gone for good. She just goes back to the command zone, but she now has 1 commander tax, which means she costs 2 more to play. So the second time you play your commander, Toph, she would actually cost 4 red-green. And that would increase the earthbending amount and facilitate, I suppose, the land creatures also doing more with double strike. So actually kind of cool for a red-green Toph. I kind of like that card. Sakasuki was the kind of preview card for this box that they revealed. So yeah, blue, red, white for a 3/3. Whenever Sokka and Suki or another ally you control enters, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to that creature, and whenever an equipment you control enters, create a 1/1 white ally token. So obviously you play this, if you have an equipment, the equipment gets attached to this. But also that happens with other allies as well. So you play an ally and equipment gets attached. But then they add onto that the idea that when you play an equipment, it creates an ally. So you play your equipment, you create an ally token. The ally token triggers the first effect of Sakasuki, and so the equipment you just played then gets attached onto the token if you want, of course. So it's actually quite cool the way it works to kind of constantly get the equipment onto all of your creatures. So it's ally focused, but it's equipment focused. Perfect for Sokka and Suki. We know there is going to be a Space Sword card revealed at some point, and I'm guessing Kyoshi Warrior Fans is also going to be a card. So excited to see the very thematic equipment get revealed. I think we already have the artifact equipment that is Sokka's boomerang. So cool stuff. One of the other cards here is a sorcery, Momo's Heist, 2 and a red. Gain control of target artifact, untap it, it gets haste. At the beginning of the next end step, sacrifice it. So you steal an artifact from your opponent, you get to use it, and then get rid of it. That's actually quite fun and clever. Uncle's Musings, 2 green with Converge. Return up to X permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast the spell. So obviously it's got green, but you can pay the 2 with other colors. So realistically, you're probably getting X for 2, but it could be 3. and they are cards going from the graveyard to your hand, which is always good. So that's very cool. They also got 2 reveals of more source material cards, which I think some of them don't look too bad, but some of them are kind of blurry screenshots. Like these 2 actually I think look relatively okay. I know some people hate the general layout of them, full stop. I think just some of the scene selection's been a bit weird, that it doesn't make the art of Avatar come across as well on a card. But anyway, we're not focused too much on these because these are mostly reprint cards rather than specific Avatar designs. So yeah, that out of the way, let's go into some of the cards that have been revealed very recently today. We got this Boomy revealed today. It's a mythic rare Boomy, so it's in the colors of Toph from that we just went over, so red and green, and 3. Human Noble Ally, 5/4 with Trample. When it enters Earthbend 4, and whenever Boomy deals combat damage to a player, you untap all lands you control, and after this phase, there is an additional combat phase. Only land creatures can attack during that combat phase. So land creatures is obviously going to be what you've done Earthbending on. They will be your land creatures, and you get to attack with them again. On the condition that, like, I suppose realistically the idea is you initially attack during your normal combat phase with Boomy and all of your Earthbend stuff. If Boomy gets through, then you get to untap your lands, and those lands get another combat step. So could be very powerful. A lot depends on just like how many Earthbend things you can get going. If that's actually like 5 or 6 things, it's going to be crazy. If Earthbending is maybe a little bit difficult to keep up past maybe 2 or 3, it might not be as good, but it's a really cool effect overall. Planetarium of Wan Shi Tong is also a mythic rare. 6 mana legendary artifact. Cool. Pay 1 mana and tap to scry 2. So scry is just you get to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, and for each of those cards you get to decide whether you want to keep it on the top or put it on the bottom. But then whenever you scry or surveil, surveil I think it's the same as scry, except you get to choose I think it's the top of your deck or the graveyard. But anyway, look at the top card of your library. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost, and you only get to do that once a turn. That's great. So you get to built into the card, you get to scry 2. So you get to dig 2 deep, choose the card you want, and basically cast it for free. That's the way it works, because you do the scry, and then what's left on the top, you get to look at it and cast it. That's pretty fantastic. It seems very powerful, and the art on it looks good. From such a notable moment in the show as well. This is when they find out when the eclipse is, of course. So that's cool. This is what when I mentioned the scene art before, you know, again, this is the layout of that. It's going to look really cool in full. But yeah, we also did get some Ty Lee cards. There was one in red. That's more the I suppose, Team Azula Ty Lee, but this is an ally Ty Lee from, basically meant to represent the moment she quote-unquote betrays Azula. But anyway, 2 in a blue for a 2/1 human performer ally, flash prowess. When she enters, you tap a creature and it doesn't untap for as long as Ty Lee, as long as you control Ty Lee. So this is chi blocking. One way to do that is you just kind of keep something tapped down for as long as she's on the field. And then you can do this at instant speed because she has flash, which is nice. And then the prowess just makes her a bit bigger if you need it to be that way. The Mechanist is actually a very cool card, a whole strategy in one card. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you create a clue token, and a clue token is just an artifact that you can pay 2, sacrifice the token to draw a card, and then the Mechanist can also tap to basically turn those artifact tokens into 3/1 flying constructs, which is cool. He turns his ideas into flying artifacts until end of turn, but still cool effect overall, highlighting that clue tokens are in the set. I think the idea with the Avatar set is that a clue token is a token they've used before. I think it's more meant to be clue, almost like /idea token. It's more meant to be like a clue to, a mystery, or in some cases an idea. I think you get the idea of what they're trying to do with this kind of specific thing. But anyway, let's get into this. Let me reset these filters here. I'll turn this on. Yeah, we'll go to the Jumpstart cards first. Just because I actually think some of these are quite cool. I think on the stream they said the full Jumpstart details are going to come out on Tuesday, because I think the weekly stream they do for Magic that we basically watched on Tuesday, the one for next week is going to be about Avatar Jumpstart. And I think they kind of said we're just going to reveal it all. So we'll have everything by the time we get there, which is actually quite exciting. I assume there'll be a big article afterwards that will list everything out in full and we'll know the full scope. But you can see here there's some cool stuff. The key thing when you look through the list is the mythic rare ones are usually, I guess, going to be the rarer themes from the Jumpstart packs that will give you the more notable characters. So like, say, Sokka Swordmaster here. So Sokka in white, so 2 and a white for a 3/3. Vigilance. Equipment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each ally you control. That's good. At the beginning of combat, on your turn, attach up to a target equipment you control to Sokka. So it actually does something similar to the Sokka and Suki card, just in like a slightly different way. And of course, that card is multicolor, whereas this card is monocolor. So that one's kind of maybe more suited to be a commander, but this also could be your commander as well. I think the idea probably more is that this Sokka is probably a good card to put in your deck that uses Sokka and Suki as a commander. That's the idea. So yeah, that's a cool card. And then what else do we have in white that's worth talking about here? Not too much in white that we already haven't seen in terms of Jumpstart. There's the mythic rare Katara that we'd already seen. Yeah, Wan Shi Tong is worth talking about as well. Now, we also have the Wan Shi Tong card from the main set, which we will get into a little bit later. But this is Wan Shi Tong All Knowing. 3 blue for a bird spirit 4/4 with flying. When he enters, target non-land permanent's owner puts it into their library second from the top or on the bottom. So you get your opponent to put one of their permanents into their library either second from the top or on the bottom, and then when one or more cards are put into a library from anywhere, you create 2 colorless spirit tokens. And I think the idea is that all of these tokens, when you generate them, they'll all have this effect that they can't block or be blocked by non-spirit creatures, which makes sense for Avatar and the way spirits work. So yeah, you create spirit tokens when your opponent messes with the library. I think that's very fun, very on flavor. So he facilitates this happening at least once when he enters. You make your opponent put something away into their library, you get your 2 tokens. It's all about if you can use your own cards to make your opponent do that, or just rely on your opponent doing that themselves. Cool card though. I actually think it's really cool, very much on flavor. And the other Wan Shi Tong does something. It's not exactly the same, but it involves the same kind of themes and ideas, I think, ultimately. In black, we have an Azula card here that's worth talking about. Yeah, I think this is the only proper one they revealed. So this is the mythic rare Azula, one of the, I suppose, main black themes that you're going to be wanting to get. Azula Ruthless Firebender, 2 and a black for a 3/3. She has Firebending 1. So the idea with Firebending, once again, is that when you attack, you generate mana equal to the number after firebending. So in this case, you generate 1 red mana. When she attacks, you may discard a card. You get an experience counter for each player who discarded a card this turn. So you can guarantee that that's at least 1 for you discarding, but you can make your opponent discard using cards. They might do stuff themselves. For 2 and a black then, until end of turn, she gets +1/+1 for each experience counter, and she gains Menace. So Menace means she has to be blocked by, I think, at least 2 creatures. So it makes blocking difficult, and then she gets bigger based on the experience counters. So she's probably going up to at least 4/4, maybe 5/5, 6/6. And with Menace, that's going to be challenging. So actually a pretty decent Jumpstart Azula here. Interesting to see what the rest of the deck, half deck that she comes with is. The red stuff is actually kind of cool here. We got like actually a lot of cards here that are interesting. All 4 of these are worth talking about. So In the main set, the past avatars are done as sagas, of course, that transform into the creature. In the Jumpstart stuff, they are just doing the avatars as creatures. So it allows them to do something a little bit different because they're just creatures. But we have Avatar Roku Firebender here. 3 red, 6 mana for a 6/6. Whenever a player attacks, add 6 red mana. Until end of combat, you don't lose this mana as steps end. So the idea of this one here is that this is sort of enhanced firebending. As in, it seems to be the effect of firebending, but worded so that you get it when you attack or your opponent attacks. So you generate... Roku effectively has firebending 6, but it also works when your opponent attacks. That's sort of the idea. It's kind of cool. And then for red, 3 red, target creature gets +3/+0 until end of turn. So at the very least, you can use his own effect twice to pump something up by 6. So Roku himself can become a 12/6. And again, you can do that your turn, your opponent's turn. So it just constantly means he's going to be massive, at least offensively massive. So that's cool because he doesn't get any extra toughness, but he still has 6. So powerful. I actually quite like this in terms of just numbers getting big. I do like that in Magic. Next up is Fang, Roku's companion, which I assume is probably in the same deck. If you pulled that Roku theme, you probably get the Fang as well. So 3 red for a dragon. It's a 4/4 with flying. When Fang attacks, another target legendary creature gets +X/+0, where X is Fang's power. So it's at least 4, but if you boost Fang, it'll give something else more. So the idea is that he's meant to combo really well with the Roku. So like if you attack with Roku and Fang, you're generating 6 mana, you're using Roku's effect twice to pump something up. So realistically, what do? You give it all to Fang. So you give Fang 6 power to make him a 10/10, and then Fang gives 10 to Roku, and you're attacking with a 10/10 and a 16. You're attacking with a 10/4 and a 16/6. I think that the math works out there. You might be able to mix the numbers around a little bit, but it's something like that is kind of meant to be the combo here. But also, when Fang dies, if he wasn't a spirit, return this card to the battlefield under your control. He's a spirit in addition to his other types. So you don't mind losing Fang the first time because he's going to come back as a spirit dragon, which is very on flavor because, you know, he is actually one of the only avatar animal companions that we actually see as a spirit as well. So a very flavorful card for Fang, and we know that the main set Roku card, the Legend of Roku Saga, generates a dragon token that is clearly meant to be Fang. So I assume we'll see another piece of art on that token that is also Fang. Here is the Zuko, for the Firebending Master Zuko from Jumpstart, Mythic Rare. 2 mana for a 2/2. Legendary creature with first strike, Firebending X, where X is the number of experience counters you have, and you get the experience counters by casting spells during combat. So that's what you want to do with Firebending, is have things Firebend, cast instants during combat to make stuff happen, and that boosts Zuko's Firebending. Now, the idea here is that you do have to have the rest of the deck get this going. He doesn't do that himself. It's going to be 0 until you use a spell during combat to get his own firebending going. So that's the only weakness of this Zuko, but he's a 2 cost. He comes in early, you should be able to make that happen. And then it might steamroll into something more. By the time you have maybe firebending 3 or 4, yeah, this is going to get going. So that's cool. Fiery Confluence is kind of cool just because it's one of these kind of mode cards. 4 mana for a sorcery, choose 3, and you can choose... you could choose multiples if you want. You get to choose 1 3 times, you can choose 1 twice and another 1 once. So it's quite useful here. So you can deal damage to creatures, deal damage to your opponent, or destroy artifacts. And the art of Aang in the Avatar state at the end using firebending is really cool. So that's very nice for the firebending new Jumpstart cards that we have. Into green, yeah, we have Kyoshi, Heibai, Toph, and this Descendants Path card is actually quite cool. So the Kyoshi Jumpstart card is kind of cool. I love this one. So Avatar Kyoshi Earthbender, 5 green, green, green for a 6/6. During your turn, she has hexproof, so she can't be targeted by your opponent's spells, which is cool. So she's quite defensive during your own turn. And then at the beginning of combat on your turn, Earthbend 8. And then untap that land. So the untap thing means that you do still get to use that land on your turn to generate mana, because then you can earthbend it, turn it into a land creature and attack with it, because it's going to be an 8/8. So that's cool. She allows you to get the full value out of that land for the turn as land and attacker. And then yeah, earthbend 8 every turn, because it's not when you attack, it's at the beginning of combat. So it just happens even if you decide not to attack. This is really good. I do like this. It's there's something about these Jumpstart versions that I do really like, where like the card doesn't have like a ton of text, but it's just like solid, powerful magic effects, and I do like that. There's obviously more, I think, flavor in the main set cards, but I do like what they're offering here. And I'm guessing that means there's going to be like Avatar Karuk Waterbender as a card, Avatar Yangchen Airbender as a card. That will be equivalents for the other avatars. So I'm excited to see them, hopefully, as the rest of Jumpstart gets revealed. And it actually really makes me excited for my Jumpstart box that I've ordered, because I'm like, oh, what themes are they going to be? Is it just going to be like generic, like earthbending, waterbending all over the place? But actually, no, like the past avatars have themes. Like a lot of the main characters have like mythic rare cards. I'm actually really excited to see what the full lineup of Jumpstart. Heibai Forest Guardian is another mythic rare, 3 and a green for a 4/4 bear spirit. It basically, what this does is you get to get a shrine and put it onto the battlefield. You just get to reveal cards from your library and until you get a shrine. So he's all about shrines, and then his secondary effect is pay all 5 colors and tap. For each legendary enchantment you control, create a colorless spirit token with the classic spirit effect. So shrines are legendary enchantments, so it's meant to be hitting the shrines, but anything else that is a legendary enchantment works as well. And he just keeps generating them, and you can keep doing this each turn. So as you gradually build up your shrines, you can go from getting, I suppose, 1 or 2 to maybe later in the game you're getting maybe 5, building up your spirits with Heibai, who himself is a spirit. Seems kind of cool. Very interested to see what the full support for this kind of theme or strategy is going to be in the Heibai deck, in terms of like how many shrines are there, and then how much like spirit, I guess, support is there going to be for just spirit related stuff. It's cool though to get another Heibai card. This is a Toph Earthbending Master. This one's kind of cool as well. 3 and a green for a 2/4 with landfall. So this means something's going to happen every time a land comes into play. So whenever a land enters, you get an experience counter. Great. That's perfect. You want to do that every turn, no matter what. So she gains experience counters relatively easily. Then whenever you attack, Earthbend X, where X is the number of experience counters that you have. So straight away, that should get going. It might take the second turn after you play her for it to get going. But you start to Earthbend 1, then 2, then 3, and that should get rolling. The only maybe slight weakness here is just that you do have to attack to make this happen. But it doesn't say whenever Toph attacks, it's just whenever you attack. You just have to declare an attack with something. So if you can even just get like an Earthbend construct, like 1/1 to attack, you can have her Earthbend something else. That's kind of cool. Descendant's Path is an enchantment, 2 and a green. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card that shares a creature type with a creature you control, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. If you don't, it goes to the bottom of the library. So it's kind of cool, gets you through your deck, and it has a payoff if you lean really heavy into a specific creature type. So what's probably most likely going to be successful for you in the Avatar set is probably going to be allies. Is going to be the really obvious way to make this work every time, where you get the free creature without the mana cost. Yeah, so free creature. The theming of the card clearly is aiming for the idea of like Do you want to play the avatars for free? You want to play an avatar deck with all the avatars in it? Imagine you like you hit Kyoshi off the top, like the 8-mana Kyoshi, and you have like Aang on the field. That's pretty crazy. But the Roku looks pretty good as well. So that's a sort of idea there where like an avatar deck might actually be possible. Because yeah, there's probably going to be a Yang Chen and a Karuk card, and there's a bunch of different Aangs, of course, as well. So that could be cool if it works, but we'll have to wait and see. A lot of this stuff we've seen already, so I'm skipping past it. Same with that. Artifact, land. So yeah, that's it for Jumpstart. Again, we still haven't seen a lot of the Jumpstart cards, and there's probably still a bunch of really cool themes to cover. Like I said, Karuk, Yang Chen. We haven't seen the Bosco card either, because if you just look at the packaging art for Jumpstart, yeah, you can see there is a Cabbage Merchant theme. Now, we've seen what the Cabbage Merchant card is from Jumpstart, but we haven't seen like what Bosco the Bear does, which is kind of fun. But that's that. So we'll switch from the Eternal set, TLE, over to TLA. And I'll be kind of selective here. There's a lot of cards that we did get revealed here. I'll just pick out a bunch of the ones that we haven't focused on. Airbender Ascension is one of the new ones here. It's a card that literally leans into the airbending mechanic, which is cool. Yeah, Water Tribe Rallier. It's kind of cool just from the art and kind of the idea that like, oh, it's more meant to represent like Katara, almost inspiring more of the kind of female waterbenders to kind of join the fight. And they kind of describe that it is something that kind of is like visualizing like something that's off screen, like implied, rather than something we directly see on screen, which is kind of cool. Yip Yip, they had to make a card called Yip Yip, but it's an instant, it's a lesson. Nice. And there's the promo Momo that comes in the bundle, so that's cool. Gran, I think, is worth talking about. She's actually a quite fun card. So 1 mana for Gran, human peasant ally. She's a legendary creature, so you can play her as a commander if you want. She's a 1/2. When she becomes tapped, draw a card, then discard a card. Non-creature spells cost 1 less to cast, as long as there are 3 or more lessons in your graveyard. So this is one thing they seem to be leaning into, is with the experienced characters, the older characters, the old masters of Avatar. They give them this effect where they like to have lessons in the graveyard. They like to see shrines, sagas occasionally. Some of them will reduce the cost of some of your spell types, like some of the Iroh cards seem to do that. So Gran reduces the cost of your non-creature spells once there are 3 lessons in the graveyard, which is nice. And then the first effect seems to be support for waterbending. So you probably don't want to tap Gran from her attacking, so instead you probably want to tap her from helping to pay for waterbending costs, and she will help you to get you to the cards that you want with the draw and discard. Seems really nice, really solid, a card that you want, and I do appreciate that. Gran gets a useful card, which is cool. Honest Work is actually a pretty fun design overall, where like you turn a creature into a citizen. It's kind of fun. But yeah, we need to talk about the Legend of Karuk. So let me just get the alternate art of this up as well, so we can take a long look at this one, because it has to be acknowledged. I'd say for Avatar fans, this is one of probably the most hyped cards to see all of these Avatar cards, past Avatars. So the front side of Legend of Karuk is 2 blue for a mythic rare enchantment saga. So the way these cards work, again, is that when you play it, basically the effect next to the numeral 1 goes off, and then on your next turn, the effect next to 2 goes off, and then 3. And in this case, all of these will transform as part of the final part of the effect into the other side. So for Karuk, the first 2 of them are both scry 2, then draw a card. So look at the top 2 cards. You can choose to keep them on the top or put them on the bottom, and then you draw. So you get to dig a little bit deeper. And that's for the first 2 turns. And then on the 3rd turn, you basically transform the card to its other side, which is Avatar Karuk. Now note, every time they do Avatar State in this set, they are going to make the card kind of colorless to demonstrate that it both kind of is all the colors together, but also none of them at the same time, representing that this is a new level of power, which is kind of cool. So yeah, Avatar Karuk, Avatar is a 4/3. When you cast a spell, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token with the same effect the token always has. So that's cool. Just any spell, and again, a creature is a spell. So when you cast anything, you create a token. So you're constantly adding these to the board just from playing the game. And then you're trying to eventually keep Karuk on the board long enough to build up to be able to use his big effect, which is Exhaust, Waterbend 20, take an extra turn after this one. So Exhaust just means it's an effect that you can only use once, with the idea being that because the effect is so strong, if you do get to it, you can't then use it again. You probably will win the game, probably very shortly after using it, but still, you can only use it once. Waterbend 20 to take an extra turn. Now, it's a crazy effect when you do get to take an extra turn, with the idea being that, like, again, that is, you end your turn, and then you start your next turn. It's in essence like skipping your opponent's turn, but it's just you taking a second turn after your own turn. So the idea is like, yeah, you get to do whatever you want in your first turn, tap out completely, then start your turn, your mana's active again, you get to draw a card, do the whole thing, do your combat all over again. You can really kind of take advantage of this. Especially because by the time you're capable of doing something like Waterbend 20, you probably have a pretty decent board. So taking an extra turn with that much like potential mana probably will win you the game. Especially considering probably how many basically unblockable spirit creature tokens you will have on the board at this point in time. So it should be a game-winning play. Again, with Waterbend, the idea is that you can use your artifacts and creatures to pay for that cost. But it's interesting because it does seem like it's going to take a long time to get there. Because you still have to pay the mana that you have to get anything onto the board. And sure, it gets you the bonus creature token, which helps to pay for one thing. But still, 20 is enough that, like, that's kind of a daunting prospect. Where, like, even if you get 10 of these on the board, you're still having to, like, pay 10 elsewhere. So, they've still made it something that's very difficult to get to. But I do just really like what it's trying to do. And then, yeah, here is the full art borderless version. Love the art here. Barbara Rosiak here. Really nice on the front side, and then on the back side, Karuk in the avatar state looks really, really good. These are probably my most hyped cards from the set overall. I actually really like the Sozin as well, but like the 4 avatars when we get them all revealed, I think just look really, really good. So yeah, that was Karuk. What else do we have here that I want to talk about? Secret of Bloodbending, we have to talk about. The other Wan Shi Tong card, of course. And then just note that there are alternate art versions of them. So Wan Shi Tong Librarian Field Note card. Secret of Bloodbending gets an elemental frame, which are nice. But here are the cards. Secret of Bloodbending. Blue, 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 blue. 4 blue. For a sorcery lesson, mythic rare. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may Waterbend 10. So you don't have to Waterbend 10. It's an additional cost, as you'll see from the next line of text. You control target opponent during their next combat phase. If you pay the additional cost, you control that player during their next turn instead. So either way, you do get to control your opponent for a portion of their turn. If you only pay the 4 blue, it's just during their combat phase, and they get to play it the rest of their turn. But if you pay the full 14, basically, you get to take their turn for them. Now, that's a very powerful effect. It's super on flavor, of course. Just controlling your opponent during combat is still nice, because at the very least what you can do is just no attacks. You don't get your combat step, I save myself. But actually, you probably want to play it a little bit more strategically, where you actually do like almost like suicide attack in 1 or 2 of their creatures, where you have favorable blocks, and so you can just take out their creatures that way by not having them think through their own blocks effectively. If you control your opponent during their entire turn, of course the idea is you get to spend their mana for them. You can completely tap them out of mana. You can spend their own spells to theoretically target their own creatures and just misuse them. So you set your own next turn up to be a very safe turn, where your opponent can't really interact with you. And again, it's kind of meant to be a bit of a game-winning play where you will have set yourself up well enough to where you should be able to win shortly afterwards. And again, Waterbend 10, again, you can use artifacts and creatures to help pay for that, to get you there. So 14 mana, getting it down to a reasonable cost of maybe more like 7. So you still have to, it feels like, have enough artifacts and creatures to probably take at least 7 off to get it down to a normal amount later on in the game. Feels doable-ish, but like, you know, still nice on the flavor side with the potential to be really good. Here's the other Wan Shi Tong. X blue for Wan Shi Tong Librarian. It's a 1/1, flash, flying, vigilance. When he enters, he has X +1/+1 counters, and then you draw half X cards rounded down. So he comes in, and he's basically as big as you want him to be, as big as the value that you put in. And then you draw half of that kind of value basically as cards. Again, you want this to be at least 2, because if you do 1, of course, 0.5 rounded down would be 0. So you need to do at least 2 to get a card draw. But then whenever an opponent searches their library, you put a +1/+1 counter on Wan Shi Tong and draw a card. So to keep him going after the initial turn he enters, your opponent has to search their library constantly. Now, their own effects will occasionally do that, but I'm guessing maybe there are cards that facilitate Wan Shi Tong making that happen to your advantage. Because you don't want your opponent getting cards they want out of their library, but you can maybe force them to search for stuff they don't want. That could be interesting. We'll have to wait to see how you can facilitate this. I think, like, maybe outside of just the avatar card environment, like, there's probably crazy stuff you can do with this, but I'm waiting more to see what the avatar kind of strategy is with Wan Shi Tong. Getting into this, everyone will of course want to see another Azula card. What else do we have here? Day of Black Sun is worth talking about. The Drill we can talk about for a little bit. Foggy Swamp Visions is cool. I'm going to leave it there for now, but it is cool to see. Here's the alternate art of the Fire Nation Drill and Foggy Swamp Visions. Chit Sang gets a card, which is kind of nice, I think, as well. But yeah, Azula on the Hunt. So this is your basic Azula. You can see here it's an uncommon monocolor. This is meant to be the kind of an early season Azula. So 4 mana for a 4/3 with Firebending 2. And when she attacks, you lose 1 life and you create a clue token. Again, clue token is artifact that if you pay 2 and sacrifice it, you get to draw a card. So she kind of damages like herself, but gets this pretty strong advantage. And then Firebending 2 literally is going to pay for the clue token, because you can just attack, immediately sacrifice the clue that you've just made to draw a card. So the card kind of reads like lose a life, draw a card type thing. It's kind of cool. And actually kind of nice. I'm assuming this is the Azula you get in the pre-release pack, because it's the most basic Azula, but that's cool. Day of Black Sun is a rare, X black for a sorcery. Each creature with mana value X or less loses all abilities until end of turn, and you destroy those creatures. Obviously, to destroy those creatures is maybe a little bit off flavor, because the Day of Black Sun doesn't really do that to anyone. It doesn't destroy people. But I get it. They need this effect somewhere in the set, and this is probably the closest you get to something that in any way resembles like a board wipe, killing everything type effect here. Unless there maybe is a card that is like Air Nomad Genocide, but I'm not sure they maybe want to do that as a card as such. So this is maybe a way to do that. But anyway, the first line of text is very flavorful, of just like everything loses their abilities, and then you destroy them, with the idea of both effects working together to basically kill things that have indestructible as well, because you get rid of the indestructible line of text and then destroy them. So that's nice. The Drill is cool. I think the only flavor fail is probably just that the toughness is only 3, which seems kind of absurd for such a giant object that required a very specific plot to take it down from the inside. As in, it was borderline indestructible on the outside. But I kind of get why they gave it a quite strong effect that had to be balanced out by its stats, I guess. It is cool though, you know, it's got trample, you can make it come in immediately and destroy something, but then you can also pay 1 to have other things lose hexproof and indestructible. And they sort of teased on stream that I think the idea of this is that they didn't say it directly, but it seems like, I guess, the Wall of Ba Sing Se is going to be a card, and it will probably have indestructible at least. It might also have hexproof, and the drill is the obvious counter to the Walls of Ba Sing Se. And it's just kind of clever. But yeah, I wish the toughness was a little higher, just because 3 makes it seem kind of like pathetic, but it is what it is. Getting into red. Cave of Two Lovers is cool because it highlights that sagas are not just the flip sagas for the avatars in Sozin. There are just ones that represent the stories here. So like this is the tale of Oma and Shu, of course, from the Secret Tunnel episode. Create 2 white like creature tokens on the first turn. On the second turn, you search your library for a mountain or a cave card, which is interesting. So I guess there is a Secret Tunnel card that is a card typed cave that you can get, which I'm super excited to see what that actually is and what it does. But the thing here you might be wondering is like, okay, it's earthbending, and this is like the kind of the origin of earthbending card, like within humans. Like the Oma and Shu are meant to be the first like human earthbenders theoretically, to a certain degree. At least the ones that learned from the badger moles, like the true way of earthbending. So why is it in red and not green? Well, red-green seems to be a bit of an earthbending theme. We probably just haven't seen enough cards representing that archetype, but I think that's kind of more what they're going for here, because there's a Boomy card that of course is red and green that I think I showed you already. If I didn't, here it is. And of course one of the Toffs is red and green as well. So they seem to be playing on the idea that some of the best earthbenders are actually red and green. And this is a card that kind of facilitates that. Because interestingly, like the decision here is like, there's no forest involved in this. Instead, you get a mountain. Interesting. So that's cool. Crescent Island Temple is another shrine in red. Firebending Student is actually a kind of cool card. It's sort of like simple but like effective in terms of what it does, where it's got Firebending X, where X is the creature's power, but it has prowess, so the power can be boosted. So that's kind of cool. Last Agni Kai is quite on flavor. So it's a fight card. It's just like target creature fights target opponent's creature, but if you deal excess damage, so if you kind of overkill them, you get that much mana, but that mana isn't lost between phases. So it's kind of cool way to, if you have a lot of firebending on this turn, you generate mana from this card plus firebending, and you actually get to keep it a little bit longer, so you can do something cool. There's definitely going to be some kind of fun, clever firebending decks that do fun stuff with just firebending as normal, but then the effects that allow you to keep that mana for longer. It seems very cool. Let's talk about Avatar Roku here. Let me just get all 4 sides of this open, this and the alternate art. So the Legend of Roku is 2 red for an enchantment saga. First one here, exile the top 3 cards of your library. Until end of turn, you can play those cards. You do have to pay for them, but you can play them, which is cool. Second one, you can add 1 mana of any color, which is interesting on like a mono red card to allow you to do that. But, you know, it facilitates you being, I guess, better able to play other cards, which is cool if you are in a multicolored deck. And then you get to transform it into Avatar Roku. Firebending 4, and then has an activated ability for 8 mana. Create a 4/4 red dragon creature token with flying and firebending 4, which is obviously Fang. So that's cool. And obviously his firebending sort of pays for half of that cost, so you have to get the rest from your own mana or more firebending. But then you create a token that has firebending 4, so you kind of will pay it back eventually, which is, I think, cool. It's strong, I think, without being like super crazy broken. But it's the right type of card, I think, that's kind of cool. And here's the alternate art. Again, Barbara Rosiak, amazing art. I'm assuming she's done the alternate art for all 4 avatars as well. So really cool. I like how the artist captures I think the avatars in a more sort of like calm use of all 4 elements, not like kind of enraged almost. So that's kind of cool. Super excited for those cards. I hope they're not like super expensive to get, the alternate art ones. But yeah, let's get going here. Ran and Shaw is kind of cool. Just in terms of the card design, like 5 mana for a 4/4, flying, firebending 2. When it enters, if you have 3 or more dragons or lessons in your graveyard, you create a copy of this so you actually have Ran and Shaw. It's not legendary, so it doesn't break the legendary creature rule, because of course, even if you have multiple Ran and Shaws in your deck, you can't play 2 of this card on the field at the same time because they're legendary creatures, but its effect lets you get both of them. And then the idea is if you do get the token out, effectively its activated ability becomes free because firebending 2, and then the token also has firebending 2, so you generate 4 mana, you activate this ability, your dragons get +2/+0, so both this and the token gets it, and you're attacking with 2 4/4s, which are now 6/4s, so like 12 damage. It's pretty nice. Not doing anything, I think, crazy, but like it's actually kind of nice. So there's that. Solstice Revelations is pretty fun card. Sozin's Comet, again, I talked about it already a few videos ago, but it's a pretty crazy card that I like. The War Balloon is a new card. Here's the Book 1 scene card. Fated Firepower goes on top of Fire Nation attacks, because you can see the way the kind of fire is kind of here. But there's still 2 cards that we have to find out from that. Sozin's Comet is this 9 card scene, as you can see here. And here's just more of the alternate arts. I like the Ancient Sun Warrior alternate art on Firebending Student, especially. It's kind of cool. But going into green here, you can see here, Katara Zuko card, Allies at Last, from Southern Raiders. Badger Mole Cub is just cool to see. Interesting, they gave actually the Young Badger Mole a mythic rare card. Now, I think it's because it's a bit of a kind of pushed effect. Especially the second part, like it comes in, Earthbend 1, but then whenever you tap a creature for mana, you add an additional green. Now, within green, I'm not sure what the idea here is. Oh wait, actually no. Like the idea here is that you turn your creatures into Earthbend creatures, but then it is still a land. So when you use those Earthbend creatures for mana, you get an additional one. I think that's the idea there, but then you can do like other stuff as well. That's actually kind of cool. So that it's just fun as well, because I don't think within the show we saw a young Badger Mole ever, so this is newish to me, I think. I might be slightly misremembering if we saw one in the background of one of the scenes with the Badger Moles. Was there a young Badger Mole with them or not? I don't think there was, but anyway, cool that it's there. Cycle of Renewal is kind of cool. The acorn here, the renewal. It's actually a fun card as well. Like you sacrifice a land and then you search for 2 lands and you put them on the battlefield tapped. So you sacrifice the sort of land in the present to get more in the future, but it'll take time, which is the kind of the theme of that episode to a certain degree. Leaves from the Vine is a cool saga there. You know, you create a food token in the middle of it. It's on flavor. It's maybe not the most powerful card, but it's nice that it's there. Seismic Sense. Sparring Dummy is a Melon Lord card. That's nice to see. Unlucky Cabbage Merchant. So here's the not legendary creature version of the Cabbage Merchant, but it's still actually quite a cool card. Actually, it searches you when you sacrifice food, you're allowed to search for a land card, and it's kind of fun. And here's the Field Note Badger Mole Cub, which is nice to see. And then we'll get into some of the multicolor cards, and this will kind of bring us to a close here. So I'll try and get through these quick-ish. I don't have, I think, actually that much to say about this Aang. So it's a double-sided Aang that's meant to represent him at the end of Book 2. So kind of Crossroads of Destiny Aang. You'll note that he's just missing the red casting cost that the Book 3 Aang has, to demonstrate that he has earthbending but not firebending yet. And the idea is that this is meant to link into the plot of book 2. So he searches his library for a creature card. He's looking for Appa. But then he goes into the Avatar state, kind of representing the idea of, you know, the whole Avatar state plot that we had in book 2. And he tries to do this, but we know what happens afterwards. But there was an initial kind of sense of power here, more representing the earthbending side of things here, where your land creatures have vigilance, and every combat you get earthbend 2. So cool card. I really like that they have given another double-sided card to Aang, and it's not just the crazy one, the mythic rare one that has it, that it's even this one. So that's cool. Though this one remains a very, very cool card. Here is the Azula at the kind of midway point of her journey in book 2. So you'll note she has a second color now. She's blue and black. So 5 mana for a 4/4, firebending 2. When she enters, your opponent exiles a non-token creature from the field, and then they also exile a non-land card from their graveyard. Those 2 cards are now available for you to cast, and you can do it at instant speed with flash, and you don't have to have the colors to pay for them. Mana of any type can be spent to cast those spells. So the cost is all that matters, not the specific nature of the cost. It's a really fun card design, but it is notable that like the only 2 cards you can play with her effect are the 2 when she initially enters. Like there's no other way to make more cards go into exile by her, which is kind of interesting. So yeah, that's cool. Dialy Agents is kind of cool, just to see this card. 5 mana here, it's in green and black. You get to Earthbend 1, then Earthbend 1, which of course is different than Earthbend 2, because it's 2 instances, as in you can target 2 separate lands and turn them into creatures, whereas with Earthbend 2, you could only target 1 land, but it comes in with 2 counters. Now, you can target the same thing with both Earthbending 1s to make the 2/2. It just gives you more options actually having it be Earthbend 1. In the sense that like the Avatar Kyoshi had Earthbend 8. If that was Earthbend 1 written 8 times, it would be super flexible, but it would probably look crazy written on a card. And yeah, it's actually quite good as well. When it attacks, opponents lose X life, you gain life, where X is the number of creatures you control with +1/+1 counters. And again, the idea is that earthbend creatures, so land creatures, have counters on them to demonstrate that they are creatures now. So that's what the X is basically about. So that's cool. Earth King's Lieutenant is actually a cool card. It ties completely into like exactly what I think green and white is trying to do as a color combination. Counters on allies. Allies give this thing counters. Seems kind of cool. Nothing complicated there, but it's really nice. Firelord Azula. So this is the end game Azula card. She's now 3 colors, so she adds red into her color cost as well. 4 mana for a 4/4, firebending 2 again. When you cast a spell while she's attacking, copy the spell. You may choose a new target for the copy. That's really, really good. So you attack, you use your firebending mana to play some sort of an instant spell, and she just gives you another copy of it. And you can target something else. Really nice. Guru Patik is interesting. He's all about lessons, sagas, and shrines. He gets you 1 into your hand, and then when you cast them, you can put counters on other things. It's an uncommon. It's not super powerful necessarily. It seems more like if your deck happens to have a lot of this stuff, you want this there, rather than maybe building a commander deck around him. But still, it's cool that he gets a card. Hama the Bloodbender is interesting. I do think the Bloodbending card itself, Secrets of Bloodbending, is more interesting than this, but always worth going over the Puppet Master here, the Bloodbender. So 2, and then it's hybrid mana here. So again, the way that this works is that you can choose to pay each of those pips, blue-black, with blue or black. So you can be like 2 blue, 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 2 black, 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 or 2 blue, black, black, whatever way you want it. So 5 mana for a 3/3. When she enters, your opponent mills 3 cards. Then you can exile one non-creature, non-land card from that player's graveyard, which now has 3 more cards in it because you milled 3 cards from them, so you have more of a selection. And for as long as you control Hama, you may cast the exile card during your turn by waterbending X rather than paying its mana cost, where X is its mana value. So the idea is you fill your opponent's graveyard with things. You then get to potentially cast or take control of one of those things, and you can do it by using waterbending. So you can have your artifacts or creatures pay for it. It's on flavor. It's another way to get across that idea of controlling something of your opponents. It's cool. It's not crazy kind of pushed because it is just an uncommon, but it's really interesting and on flavor, which is great. You can tell that the designers put so much effort into kind of keeping things on flavor while still designing interesting cards, because I think the reception to the set overall has been quite good. I think people are seeing a lot of quite powerful cards in here, while it still has that kind of beginner aspect of like allowing Avatar fans to get into it as well. And so I think it's working on both sides. I think Magic fans are liking this, and I think Avatar fans are liking it as well, which is great. Iroh end of series cards. So Iroh Grand Lotus. 3 green, blue, red for a 5/5 firebending 2. During your turn, each non-lesson instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. Flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost. So the idea there is flashback just means if a card in the graveyard has flashback, you can play it again. So in this case, because the flashback cost is equal to the card's mana cost, you just get to play it out of the graveyard if you want to. And that is any sorcery or instant that isn't a lesson, you can pay for its normal cost, because if it is a lesson, it has flashback for 1. Its cost is now only 1 to come out of the graveyard. So you can have Iroh come in, immediately get a bunch of cheap lessons out of the graveyard, and then if you have enough mana, any spell, sorcery can come out of the graveyard, and that's kind of cool. So this seems quite powerful. I'm assuming there will be a bunch of commander decks built around this, because that just seems quite open in terms of regular use of quite a lot of cards. So very interesting one there. What else do we have? Line Turtle. Just because it's the Line Turtle, I think we have to go over this Ozai. We have to go over the Sokka, definitely, and the other Iroh. And I think that more or less will bring us to a close. Line Turtle. I maybe wish the card was a little bit more powerful and notable, but it's still cool. So 1 green and a blue for a 3/6 Elder Cat Turtle. Vigilance and Reach. When the Line Turtle enters, you gain 3 life. Nice. The Line Turtle can't attack or block unless there are 3 or more lesson cards in the graveyard. So it's another kind of old master style character, so it needs those lessons to kind of get going. In this case, to kind of properly activate it. And tap, it can add 1 mana of any color. So that's great. So another thing you have to realize here is it's 3 mana for a 3/6. That's a lot of toughness for just 3 mana. So the idea is that, yeah, you need something to kind of get it online, and that is the lessons. But until then, you can just play it as a kind of mana rock, basically, to a certain degree, just constantly getting the mana of any color, which is nice, makes complete sense for the Line Turtle. And then once it is active, it's going to be, I guess, a pretty good blocker, because it's got Vigilance and Reach, so it can hit flyers as well. So very nice card, and it does have an alternate art, as you can see here. Field note, alternate art. But next, Ozai the Phoenix King. This seems crazy to me, but maybe the cost is a bit high, like 6 mana, like just because it'll be somewhat late in the game by the time it comes out, but it is powerful, really powerful. 2 black, red for a 7/7 human noble, mythic rare. Trample, firebending 4, and haste. So firebending with haste means you generate that mana immediately if you want to. Trample means the damage kind of rolls over into your opponent's life. If you would lose unspent mana, that mana becomes red instead. Ozai has flying and indestructible as long as it has 6 or more unspent mana. So this is like a crazy souped up version of like the effects that we've seen on a few of the cards that like allow you to hold on to the mana like a little bit longer. His just allows you to keep that mana. You just build up this extra mana and you don't lose it even between turns. And you basically want to do Firebending 4 and hold on to it. It's just you have 4 mana banked as unspent mana that you can use. And then by the time you have a little bit more after that, it's up to 6. He gains flying and indestructible, and all of a sudden he's trample, Firebending 4, haste, flying, and indestructible. And he keeps your red mana going. Kind of pushed and crazy. Just I suppose all the double pips here might be the only thing holding it back, but it's very, very, very strong. Sokka, Tenacious Tactician, is the kind of end of series Sokka card. So it's 1 blue, white, red for a 3/3. Menace, Prowess. All allies you control have Menace and Prowess, and whenever a non-creature spell is cast, you create a 1/1 ally creature token. So it kind of just does everything you want with allies. You give everything Menace, makes them hard to block, gives them Prowess so they all get boosted, and to get Prowess, you have to cast a non-creature spell, so that's good. So you get counters for that. But then you also get allies as well. And those allies will now have Menace and Prowess. He just does everything you want to do. And he's a perfect commander card because he's like a kind of cycle, a kind of engine, basically, all in one card. And that seems very cool. So, nice card there. And here's the, I guess, earlier series Iroh. So he's 1 and green / red hybrid mana. Firebending 1 and lessen spells cost 1 less to cast. Pretty nice, pretty solid. And he's a 4/2, which is also pretty good as the uncommon Ozai. And then, we just need to take a look at some of the alternate arts pretty much then. So this one here is the Book 2 scene card. So you can see this Aang, this Katara, and the Dai Li agents all linked together. Because you'll note the water stream here lines up with this. And then Katara's attack lines up with this. So these 3 are all in a row. And then this Azula goes on top of the Dai Li agent. So it's going to be a 2x3 grid here. We just don't know what the cards that would go over the Aang and the Katara are yet. But it looks pretty nice. These are part of the 9-card kind of combo for the end of the series. Here's some borderless cards, some elemental frame cards for Iroh and Aang and Sokka. And I think we've seen all these other cards before. Energy bending is kind of cool. It makes your lands all gain all of the basic land types, just meaning they can all tap for any color. And you draw a card, which is nice. Zuko's Exile is kind of cool as well. It creates a clue token after you exile something, which makes sense. It's the start of Zuko's journey to search for the Avatar finding clues. Trusty Boomerang is here. And then we do need to maybe talk about this as like the final card, I think. Yeah. So the White Lotus Tile. So it's a mythic rare artifact for 4 mana. It enters tapped. Tap. Add X mana of any color, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a creature type in common. So the idea here, I think, from what we've seen so far, is that it's meant to lean probably for the Avatar set into allies is the most obvious way to make this happen. That's going to generate you the most mana. You could theoretically use this, I guess, if there is maybe an Avatar deck to lean into that. Otherwise, like, the common creature type seems to be like warrior, like human, I guess, is going to work as well. It could work for spirits, but it seems like this is going to be a pretty popular card just because, hey, if you play any deck that like uses a lot of any particular creature type, it's a good way to generate mana. So this one I can see being quite an expensive card when it comes out, just because usually the case is that any card that's like this, that is just an artifact, colorless, that just gives you a bunch of mana, is always somewhat expensive. And we do have the alternate art for this as well. And then one of the listings for playmats from Ultimate Guard is for that a mythic rare artifact is going to be on a playmat. So I'm thinking it might be this art for White Lotus Tile, but we have to wait and see. So I think that's more or less where I will leave things off for now. Again, spoilers are going to be continuing for the next bunch of days, all the way up to until the 7th. I think there's a few days where it kind of calms down. The 1st and 2nd of November, I don't think there are any spoilers planned, But on the 1st of November, we know that I think that probably is going to be the day Ultimate Guard reveals all their stuff, because Beetle and Grimm have a bundle that they're releasing that like has Ultimate Guard stuff in it, and they still haven't revealed all the Ultimate Guard stuff. So I assume that will be the day that that happens. And then of course, yeah, we still have to get, like, say, all the secret Lairs revealed. And that sort of stuff. I'll just do one quick check to see if there have been any kind of card reveals also from today, and we'll wrap it up. Okay, some cards that seem to have sprouted up since I last checked is a Teo card here. 3 and a blue for a 1/4 human pilot ally with flying. Whenever one or more creatures you control with flying attack, draw a card, then discard a card. When you discard a non-land card this way, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Okay, so let me think this through here, because this is my first time reading this one. Okay, you have to attack with creatures with flying. This has flying. Draw a card and discard, and if you discard a non-land, you get a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Seems good. Again, it's an uncommon. It's not like super crazy, but like it leans into flying, which is good. Yeah, that seems interesting, but not like crazy. We also have Northern Air Temple. So, interesting here for the Northern Air Temple. It's in black, I guess, to play up the idea that it's been like infected by like the Fire Nation, that sort of idea. So, 1 black mana shrine. When it enters, each opponent loses X life. You gain X life, where X is the number of shrines you control. When another shrine enters, each opponent loses 1 life. You gain 1 life. Okay. And then I'm guessing this probably confirms we will see each of the air temples at least get a shrine. So that's cool. But I think that's it for the last while, some of the cards we've seen revealed. So, yeah, I'm super excited for the set. Eager to see more as we kind of go through the days. Like I said, I'll do more kind of full, complete videos going over the cards kind of grouped by color probably as we go forward. Exactly how many videos that's going to be, how long it's going to be, well, I'll have to see when I get to actually recording it. But I do want to have some coverage just talking about all the cards. But as a kind of bit of an overview from this like giant like day and a half of card reveals, I hope you enjoyed this video. But yeah, that's been it. Thanks for watching, and bye.